And I'm live. All right. Today is Friday night. It is September 5th, which is kind of unbelievable. I say that all the time, though. Anyway, my name is Tori Christman, for anybody new who doesn't know me. And I speak because I was in Scientology for 30 years. Sounds like a long time, like I say, but when we got in, there was no internet. I got in 1969, before most of you were probably born. And in 1969, there was no internet, and you had absolutely no, there really wasn't the information out there. Hi, 49ers for life. There wasn't information out on, that you guys have, all the information that a lot of people know. Hi, this, that, and the other. Hello. I know. It's good to see you guys too. I'm sorry I've been away a little bit, but I've been fixing my phone, which has been giving me a little bit of trouble. But anyway, I'm working on it. So there you go on that. But anyway, I was in Scientology, and then in 2000, I woke up. And I say woke up because it's almost like you're in a little bit of a coma. And that's what the title tonight is, Scientology, New People and What You Should Know. Because it's really important to know that Scientology uses covert mind control. And if you don't know what mind control is, look it up. People all the time say, that would never happen to me. I would never do it. And I have to say, I would never do it either if I had the information that's out on the internet today and I looked at it. A couple things that new people need to know is that Scientology will immediately tell you, don't look on the internet. Don't look at various different people. Hi, Christy, because they're evil and they're filled with, they're either, depending on what they think you will buy. We're evil, or we have misunderstoods, or we left because we never got any gains, or something like that. They make up something. Like a couple Christmases ago, they said I was an undercover CIA agent, which someone sent me this great hat. That's my CIA hat. Hi, Alice. So, they'll call you anything but it totally backfired on them, which it always does. That's what always happens to them. It's like the guy that I was talking to was going to give them $5,000, and he was a brand new guy. He was going to give them $5,000, and I said, be careful, because they lie and they hate me. And he came out a little bit later and he goes, wow, they really hate you. And so anyway, we talked and had a conversation, and the whole thing's on my Facebook site somewhere. It was a couple of Christmases ago, but he didn't go. He said, no, I'm going to Japan. I'm not doing that. And I said, did they get the 5,000? He said, no. And I said, well, just out of curiosity, what did they say to you about me? Because he really looked kind of freaked out. And he said, well, they told me you're a top secret undercover CIA agent. And that's what they do. See, they just lie to do anything to get you under control. So you come in, you're kind of innocent. It's sort of like, yeah, we just wanted to find out what Scientology is. I mean, a lot of people now, because of TikTok, thank goodness, and the internet, and many people we've all been speaking out. I've been speaking out for 25 years. So there's a lot of information on the internet that you can have access to, so you can walk in with knowledge and you know what you're going to run into. But in case you didn't, I thought I'll just make it because I keep running into new people that are thinking of going in there. And I just want you to understand, it is, number one, it is not a religion. It is a fraudulent, covert, mind control business pretending to be a religion, right? You have to pay for every single thing, including saying you're a Scientologist. You have to join the IAS, which is the International Association of Scientologists. And, that's very expensive. And they're constantly working on getting money from you, one way or the other. If you don't have money, they'll ask you to join the Sea Organization, which is a billion-year contract, which is, of course, bogus. But people do it, and I did it. I joined it. Luckily, I have epilepsy, so they made me leave because I needed to get my medicine, and they wanted me to use Dianetics and vitamins to get off of epilepsy or to get rid of epilepsy, and that didn't work at all. And my mother, thank goodness, really, really, really stayed on top of it, and finally just said, look, either you're on your medication today or I'm going to fly out there, and they will never forget your mother. Now, there's something right in the middle of my face, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Remove from the stage. All right. Okay, it says remove from the stage, exit solo layout, mute, or exit the mic settings. I don't know. I'll just have to leave it. That's the way it is. I'm still evolving on this. But anyway, so they definitely trick you. It's kind of a tricky thing. They why don't you come in? You meet all these people. They're like, wow, you really came to the right place at the right time. And you're like, really? And they're like, oh, yeah, definitely. And I've had huge gains from it. And they have other people come around and tell you how wonderful it is and how much it's helped them in their life. What they don't tell you is those people they're not allowed to talk to each other ever. Once you join, that's it. You can talk to them about the sun and going to the movies and whatever else, but you cannot talk to them about Scientology. As far as you can talk about your gains, but if you ever have any upsets, you can't mention them to anyone except an ethics officer. And of course, they're just designed to handle you, and get you back doing whatever you were doing. So far, it looks like we have 49ers for life, this, that, and the other, Christy and Alice. And I'm good. Thank you, Alice. So is there anyone else on there, or is that what we have? My thing says 12, but that doesn't look like 12. I don't know if there's something I'm not seeing. Can someone tell me? 49ers for life? Okay, here's a new comment. Okay, there we go. YRB, all right. Hi, I'm here. Just got in. Okay, good. And Sophie, yay. Hi, Sophie. Sophie is our amazing moderator who's really been great. She's wonderful. And she's from New Zealand. So that's a cool place. It is. Anyway, our topic tonight, Sophie, is Scientology and new people, what they should know. And I'm basically just saying it's basically designed, it's kind of a trap that you don't know is a trap. And it seems very nice. Everyone seems friendly. They're welcoming you. It's sort of like, I don't know. And then, of course, if you say, well, I don't know, I saw this stuff on the internet. They're like, oh, those people, they're just disgruntled Scientologists, or they're criminals, or, they'll say anything to get you to stop looking at the internet. And then they start building in the mind control, which is, you don't really want to look on the internet about Scientology because we have the actual facts and technology. The people on the internet don't. Now, I spent 30 years in Scientology. Their bridge to total freedom is like a triangle. And I worked my way all the way up to OT7. OT8 is the top level. Thank you, Sophie. So, it's tricky because the higher you're having to pay for every single level. This side is training. This side is auditing. So auditing is sort of like counseling, only it doesn't really work. Well, it doesn't really work in my opinion. And this is based on my experience. But a number of people I know had the same experience where it just didn't work. That's it. And but you have to keep going on it despite it not working. They get you in and they're kind of like, well, the only reason why it's not working for you is because you're not being responsible enough, or whatever they think your certain situation is. They will use that to say that's why you're not having gains. It's never because of Scientology. What's funny is that they say we have the information and we'll sell it to you. Yeah, exactly. They will sell you the information. And that's another thing you should know. Don't bring a checkbook. Don't bring your credit cards or debit cards or any cash. That's what I would recommend if you're going to go in there. Don't have any of that with you because they will get it. I'm telling you, they will get it. I used to stand outside the recruiting center on Hollywood Boulevard, and I'd say, "Look, I was in it 30 years. Don't give them any money." And young kids would go in and they'd come out with a Dianetics book, and I'd say, "Didn't I tell you you have to pay for every single thing?" And they'd go, "Ah, you're right." And they'd go back in, and a lot of them got their money back. It was good. Thank goodness it's Friday. Hi, June. I agree. I really agree. We saw the greatest documentary tonight on Steven Spielberg. It was really good. It was really, really interesting. And then Bill Maher, I don't know if you guys plug into him, but man, that guy has it together as far as various different things going on in our country here in America that a lot of people won't say, but he will. And it's really, he's funny and he's right on the money. So anyway, there you go. So the other thing you should know, I really think anyone listening to this, hi Connie, if you haven't studied mind control at all, go to YouTube and just type in mind control and start learning about it, because it's really important that you understand how it works. How what the exact things that they do that control. Like Steve Hassan has a great book on the BITE model, which is behavior, information, controlling these things, behavior, information. I think it's technology and emotions. I'm not sure about the T, but I know they do control all those. They make sure to control who you talk to. Now it's worse in the Sea Org. I will admit that, because they live there. Oh, hi, creative Monica from Norway. How wonderful. I love Norway. I went there to meet Andreas Helderland, who put up the website xenu.net, www.xenu.net. And here it is. And I show it all the time. That's my friend. He passed away a couple of years ago now, I think. But he's a great guy. Connie's saying, hey, to everybody. Well, enjoy Norway, man. That's a beautiful country. I have never seen so many happy people. I never even knew that many happy people could live in a country together. It's incredible. T is for thought. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Coffee first, please. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so it's behavior, information, thought, and emotions, right? If I don't have it right, correct me. Okay, for the total outsider, think of the worst possible, most powerful advertising campaign targeting you to buy or consume something you absolutely don't need. Scientology sells gasoline milkshakes. Good point. Very good point, YRP. That's so true. And people will say to me all the time, I would never do that. And I go, I know. I would have never done it either if I knew what you know now. But I didn't know they were gasoline milkshakes. They're selling them like, oh man, this is the greatest thing on earth. And you're like, really? And they're like, and in fact, you need it. You specifically need it. And everyone has what are known as buttons. That's what they call them. And now other people in and around use that term. And it's something that if you push it, you react. So usually it's like communication, relationships, money, career, goals, those kind of things. And they find what your button is. It's something that you're not doing well at. And they go, well, Scientology can help you with that. And you're like, really? And they're like, and this was back in the 60s and 70s when we'd go out and talk to people. And we would literally, this was a drill that they have. Can I ask you a question? And the person goes, yeah, sure. And they go, what's ruining your life? And they go, well, I can't get a girlfriend. Some guy says that. You say, oh, okay. And how long has that been going on? And, they kind of get into it a little bit. And then they go, well, why don't you come into Scientology? You're right here. And we can maybe talk to you about it. We might be able to help you. They used to say we can help you. But then they had too many people, I think, sue them. So now they just say we might be able to help you. But it's very tricky because they use peer pressure, which is groups of people that will come around and, just kind of pound on you that, yeah, this is what you need, Sophie. Everyone has things they need help with and want to change. It's horrible how that's exploited. Exactly. Hi, Pixie 314. Hi, thanks for coming by. Thank you all for coming by. I appreciate it. I'm laughing because I've got this big sign right in front of my face. It's like, it actually, yeah, it's in both areas. The avatar. Edit the mic settings. Maybe I'll try edit the mic settings. Let's see if that works. Now. No, that's not it. I don't know. I'll have to ask Bunker after next time I talk to him. I just talked to him last night. He's doing good. He's my buddy, Mark Bunker. Y2 Watcher. Hi, Tori. Is that a ceiling fan I hear in the background? It is. Good hearing. It's very hot here now. It's really, really hot. So I had on my air conditioning, but then that's too loud. So I'm just having the fan. Is it too loud? They will even provide you with first couple of girlfriends as part of proof of concept. True in the Sea Org, and but for public, for public they will. They won't for Sea Org because they're really strict. That's the other thing to know if you're thinking ever of joining the Sea Org, which it's basically a slave camp, so don't. But and you can look at Leah Remini and Mike Rinder. They interviewed kids for 2 years that were in the Sea Org, that were raised in the Sea Org, and you could really hear what really happens day to day. It's really good. Jen is now on TikTok. Jenna Miscavige, who's David Miscavige, who runs Scientology. It's his niece. And she's out now and speaking out and very, 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 exact examples of things of what goes on. There are many new cults forming on social media. It's like a candy store for them. That's why it's important to learn about mind control and cults and what are they? Well, what do they consist of? Because if you really understand how it works and how they control everything, and they start out slowly. So that's the other thing to know for new people is that what I'm telling you, it's a slow train into the trap. It's not like you just walk in and you're trapped because you could just walk out. But they first get you on a course. Usually I don't know if they even do this anymore, but they used to always start with the communication course. And oddly enough, I think everyone I know in the 30 years I was in Scientology, they still like that course. Not necessarily what it moved into, because Miscavige twisted it around and it's a big mess now. But the original communication course was actually, it had very good tips. And I loved it. I was pretty good at communicating when I got in Scientology, but I loved it because it helped me understand why some people are good at communicating, why some people aren't. STCC, this, I forget what that stands for, which I'm always happy when I forget things in Scientology. But I think it's something, the communication course. Scientology training communication course? I don't know. Tell us, Sieglin. It's easy to see a cult from the outside, not so easy to admit that one is in one. As Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool someone than to convince someone that they have been fooled. Very true. Very, very true. That's a good quote. Good quote, Sophie. Unbelievable. All right. Oh, yeah, the success through communication. Thank you. Thank you. The STCC. And see, they have all these like little things, just like she put STCC. So right away, you're on the outside when you first run into them, and they're all talking like, oh, I'm on the STCC. And you're like, what is that? And you know, they have all this whole language that is part of mind control. And every cult has a specific language. So it's sort of like you don't really know. You have to get into it to learn the language to be able to be really part of the group. And I will say a lot of Scientologists are cool people. They were in 69, and they still, a lot of Scientologists, the main people that were in when I was in, I still really like. They're good friends of mine. A lot of them. We're all out, but we like each other a lot. And it's fun to share experiences. It's amazing. It really is. Sieglin, how far did you do the bridge to total freedom? I forget if you did or didn't. The control of language is to control reality. Exactly. Yeah. And it works. It really works. It's amazing. When I got out, my friend said to me, Tori, you sound like a Martian. Nobody's going to understand you. And she was in it. She was in the Sea Org, so she knew what she was talking about. But she said, no, you've got to, you know, every time I'd say a Scientology word, which was every other word, she'd say, all right, stop, think about it. What would it be in the English language? And then you'd have to say it in English. It really helped me. It really helped strip off the mind control. The control, yeah. The control of language is the control to control reality. Yep. And to keep you in, I call it the Scientology Truman Show. If you haven't seen the Truman Show, definitely watch it. It's really good. I am a proud peer of completion. All right, nothing further. Good for you, and no regrets. Yeah, that's the best. Is to just do. If you do anything, only do one thing and then get out. You know, all of us who kept going, it's like, oh, it's such a waste of money and time. Question: why do you think so many ex-Scientologists dislike each other? I personally feel like past traumas and lack of trust because of the cult has hurt a lot. Well, all my friends are ex-Scientologists, not all of them. I have other friends too, but a lot of my ex-Scientology friends, we get along great. So we don't have that. I think that's only on the internet where you find that. And me personally, like if you sent me, let's say, an email and asked me a personal question. I mean, this happened to me with Rosie O'Donnell. She was getting hooked in by Tom Cruise, I think. And I called my friend and I said, they're getting her. They're getting her. This was years ago. And Tony Ortega had done a whole article about me in the New Times LA, where he worked at the time. So we sent her that article, and that night she sends me an email and goes, "Dear Magoo, it's Roro." And I write back and I say, "Dear Roro, how do I know this is you? You could be the Office of Special Affairs pretending to be it. Call me." That's my thing. I always have a thing, call me. And if people won't call me, then I know they either have bad intentions or they're OSA. They're mostly OSA. So I think it's an internet thing, that people disliking each other. And remember, I opened up the phony accounts for the Office of Special Affairs because my auditor asked me to do it. And he was like a really dear friend at the time. And he just did it like as a friend. He said, we really need to handle the internet. And I said, what's going on with it? Because we weren't on the internet. And he said, it's just these evil people. They're really trying to ruin our church. And I said, well, what do you need? And so he asked me to open up one of these accounts, and he ended up getting 10 of them. And then he would use them to basically stop free speech. I didn't know that because he wouldn't tell me what he was using them for. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell you. They'll get you in deposition and you'll be in it forever. And you don't want that, Tori. And I said, yeah, that's true. And so he said, just open the accounts and give me the email and the password. And then he could be on the internet anonymously, right? So, but because of that, I know their drill. And they go on there, and their number one thing is to distract. Number two is to divide and conquer, getting people fighting with each other. So I would put money on it. Most of the fights, someone in there is from OSA and is working that out so that, that happens. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So that's what I think. Because in person, I've said it, I used to have fights with this one lady on the internet. And I called her one time and I said, honestly, I think if we sat in my living room and had tea or coffee and some cookies and just sat and talked, I think we would be fine. I just think it's because of typing, you lose inflection and kind of what someone is really saying. And you can take it wrong, and then you get into these fights. And that's not even factoring in OSA. Okay, it must take a lot of time to stop talking and thinking that way. It did, but not too long, because I was really determined to do it. And I had been reading for 10 years, I'd been reading self-improvement books. So I was sort of stripping off mind control on my own. I didn't know it. I was trying to just handle headaches that I had. But it ended up, I think it stripped off a lot of it. 49ers for Life says lack of trust. Yep, that's a big one. Hi, Dorothy Gale. Hi from Tennessee. All right. Hello. Thank you for coming by. When Tori was streaming outside Big Blue, the hot accounts were hard out. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, Sophie. When Tori was streaming outside Big Blue, the bot accounts were hard out. Like, in other words, there were a bunch of them, I think you're saying. I saw a thing about internet trolls, and the one thing they want is response, any response. That's exactly right. And that's what Bill Yardy told me. He said, Tori, the only thing we can't handle on the internet, and this is when I was in and opening those accounts, he said, the only thing we can't handle is if someone doesn't say anything. And because, see, his thing was to just distract any way he could. So as long as somebody answered, he could respond to it. But if they didn't, then let's say someone said, and this happened, this is a true thing, L. Ron Hubbard's a liar. He was married 3 times, not 2, because he said he was married 2 times, and he was really married 3 times. Now, they don't want that. See, in the old days, in the 90s, they were news groups, so they were linear. So if someone wrote that, that just sits there. And they didn't want it to sit there because then all these people around the world would see that same statement. So their goal was to drive it down the page and onto the second page, because most people don't read the second page, which is pretty true. I mean, there's a lot to read on the first page, and more stuff keeps coming in, right? And Jesse Prince said the same thing to me, who's out, but used to be an executive helping run the Church of Scientology. And now he's out. And I would get so mad at all these people writing lies about me. And I'd call him up and he'd say, Tori, listen to me carefully, step away from the stove. And it's a very simple thing, but it's so powerful. Because, you know, if you do that, you're not going to be in a fight. Okay. I think it's also a generational thing where the trauma, this is YRB, where the trauma of response and experience is different and trust issues and ability to communicate become more challenging. Anyway, experience is different and trust issues and ability to communicate become more challenging, particularly if you are on the internet. Probably, yeah, that could be it. But most of the guys that are really fighting are the younger ex-Scientologists. I think so, but maybe not. YT Watcher. Okay, my opinion, Scientology teaches members to snitch and report on each other. Okay, hang on. Due to the history of reporting and adding paranoia of potential OSA leads to a fear of paranoia culture that exists within the community. Good point. Thank you, Y2 Watcher. I still see them slimming the feed in chats. Yeah, sliming the feed. Yeah, I know, I do too. But I'm telling you, Sophie, I've been explaining this for 25 years, and people still, they get into it, and you just go, who's winning on this? The only person winning when two activists are fighting, it doesn't mean you can't argue. My dad taught me that when I was a young kid, because I was hanging out with my brothers and their friends, which were mostly boys. And some of my girlfriends, we all hung out with them. And my dad said, I'm going to teach you about bullies because you're going to run into some. And he said, it doesn't matter if you disagree with someone, as long as they'll sit down at the table with you and talk. But bullies will never sit down at the table with you and talk. And that was one of my first waking up things with Scientology. I was on a course called the Data Evaluators course, where you learn how to evaluate data and find out who's the why. And I realized all by myself in this course room, oh my God, the real why is Scientology. They're the ones screwing all this up. Y2 Watcher, once fear sets in, chaos can take over. Good point. Hi, Dave Gibbons. Thanks for coming by. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Y2 Watcher totally can see that, but it's not just exes. I see others doing it too. Sure. Hello, Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons lives in Australia. So we've got someone from New Zealand and Australia. And Tennessee, I think, is JBO8 here? I don't think he is. But he's in Hawaii. 49ers for life. You're around me here, right? I think. Unless you're in New Orleans. Saturday afternoon here. Wow, that's right, because of the time zone. I think the younger Next Scientologist suffered a different kind of trauma. Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of them were in the Sea Org and, tortured, especially those that were raised in the Sea Org. Yeah. Children up to their teens. Yeah. Very, very, very different and very awful. And, luckily they're out because some of them are still in. I agree, Sophie, Y2 Watchers. It's a mix of views, chatters, and possible also regular people like chaos and drama. Like it's really a show, but it's people's lives. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think I never watched soap operas. My mom taught me that early on. She said, don't watch them. It's just a waste of time. But that's really kind of how these big drama scenes are, is like a soap opera. And I think it's just like, some people watch it that way. But you have to be careful because it's not healthy. Galen, Gaylord, Michigan here. All right. Lions for life. All right. Cool. Well, I grew up sort of near you in Chicago. That's not too far. I'm in Oslo. Oh, Pixie, lucky dog. I flew into Oslo. I was shocked. This is a fun story. I flew into Oslo to see Andreas. We say, let's get something to eat. So we go in a restaurant. I sit down. Andreas sets down his wallet. It's a big, thick wallet with all these credit cards. And he goes, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a minute. He takes off. And he comes back, and my eyes are like this. And I'm like, Andreas, you left your wallet sitting on the table. Here in LA, I mean, somebody would snatch it up in a minute. And he looks at me and he goes, Tori, you're not in the United States anymore. You're in Norway. And nobody's going to take my wallet. Why? Because we take care of each other from birth to death. So they would have no reason to take my wallet. There's no gain in that. And I really, all the way across the country, I was there for a week. And I just never saw so many happy people. I think Australia and New Zealand are kind of the same, where they're super happy too. 49ers for life. Yeah, I met you at the Father's Day protest. That's Riley. But I mean, I wasn't sure if you lived there when I met you or not. You might have told me, but I met too many people that day. But recently, I think you mentioned that you live in the area, and I'm like, we should get together. YRB. What burns my bucket, I like that expression, is the conversation slime that is added by people that never were in Scientology. Those are the most despicable trolls. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to, I'm used to people saying, stuff like that. I know it's kind of creepy, but a lot of it is education, which is what got me speaking out at all. I thought we need to educate people on what Scientology is and what it isn't, so they don't get, because I don't care about the religion. I mean, I don't think of it as a religion, but a lot of people do, or spiritual or whatever. But their beliefs, that isn't what I speak out against. I speak out against the abuses that are really human rights abuses that they do on a daily basis. They lie, they cheat, they stop free speech, they rope in young kids to billion-year contracts that are like slave camps. They do really creepy things. They break up families. They declare people suppressive. I'm a suppressive person. This is my SP declare. This is by the Church of Scientology. You can see it. And it says on the back, her only terminal is the International Justice Chief via the Continental Justice Chief. That's it. And I have it laminated because they used to break into my house. And I thought, no way, they're not getting this. I knew I'd be using it in different talks and things like that. And I have. What a great guy Andreas was. I know he really was a dear person. YRB. Oh, what I would give to be in New Zealand as you're beginning your spring and we are still burning up from our summer. Yeah, that's true. New Zealand would be cool. Creative Monica. Norway is special. It really is. It really is. And the people are. I mean, I went somewhere. I can't even remember where it was. We were driving across the country. I think we stopped to get gas. And first of all, this guy came up with this idea that I thought was brilliant. And it was basically if you buy his cup for coffee, you get free coffee all across Norway. As long as you use his cup, you get free coffee. And I thought, how smart is that? So probably 1 billion people go to his gas station because he's got, and he had really good coffee too. He had good coffee and he had cappuccinos and espressos and all kinds of stuff. It was really as outstanding. It was. But we were going across the country and we stopped at one of the gas stations and this guy there said, have you ever had a Norwegian waffle? And I said, no. And he said, well, I'm going to make you one. I'll be back in a few minutes. And he comes back with a Norwegian waffle. And I just thought, the concept of someone doing that here, and at least we're in LA, everybody's way too busy. They're like zoom, 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 zoom. They got to get to the next place. You know, it's just, I thought, well, how sweet is that? I enjoyed the protest experience, but I personally didn't like how Rib Guy was treated at the protest. It kind of ribbed me the wrong way. I was sitting next to him. I don't remember what happened, but we'll talk about it another time. He's had issues because of a certain person that I'm not going to bring up here. They do that to the coffee deal. Oh, cool. Isn't that smart? I just think, how smart is that? Tori, any chance Nancy Maney would join you in a stream? I like her energy. She could talk about being a chaplain. She does not have to talk about Scientology. Okay, I'll ask her. I can't say yes or no, but I will definitely ask her. Spring has been great in Oz. We've had a lot of rain. Winter, but the last week or so has been wonderful. Oh, how nice. It's so great to hear. We have no rain. You know, the fires have already started again. So it's been tricky. It has, because we're the opposite, where you guys have rain, or like Portland, they have rain, but we don't have any rain. It's like my front lawn. I did an interview with a guy named Tyler on YouTube. I can't remember his last name. And I've got to get his YouTube site just because he's got 4 million subscribers. So he's obviously good at what he does. Bonsoir. Hi, Katie Light. But anyway, he came to pick me up and I was so embarrassed because my front lawn is just dead. You know, it's like there's no grass at all because there's no water. And it costs so much to do sprinklers and stuff. It's just a fortune. And Water and Power, Burbank Water and Power said, too bad. You know, we're doubling the price all the time. So they're not exactly helping. We'll have bushfire season soon. Oh, okay. Y2 Watcher, you are welcome. I can't remember what I said that you're thanking me for. Oh, for Nancy. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely check with her. I will. I think she'd be fun if she will. I don't know. And especially because of her job, I really don't know. But we'll see. You know, some people, it's a little tricky because of their job. You know, even if she could talk about being a chaplain, but she's on this site, and she might not want to publicly be connected to the same, situation. But she has a lot to say. She does. She wrote a book, so I think it's called My Billion-Year Contract. I think it's her book, but she definitely wrote a book about it. So there you go. So anyway, if you are new, I think all of us that are on here would agree, don't go in. Because once you go in, then it's like you're here and they're here, right? And they have lots of other people that can work you over. So it isn't just like one person might say, hey, why don't you come in? But pretty soon you'll see you're meeting all kinds of other people, and it's sort of like, wow, they're all really nice, and they're really happy I'm here, and it has a good feel to it. But I don't know now. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know how it is. I've been out for 30 years. No, 25 years. I've been out for 25 years. I was in for 30. Dave, I only have 5 more years to go, and I'm out. I'm in the same time as I was out. Isn't that amazing? I think you too, because you were in for 30 years, I think, right? I think so. Dave, I met online. I've never met him in person. Most of you I've never met in person. I met Sophie. I got to meet her. That was fun. She came here and we got together and had a good time. But Dave, I've never had the great fortune of meeting, but I feel like he's part of my family. He's a wonderful person. So, Sophie, how are you doing, precious? Katie Light asked. So, Dave, is there anything else you can think of that for new people that they should know that I'm not mentioning? I mentioned getting trained in mind control, learning what a cult is. Don't let them control your speech or who you talk to. They have a thing called keeping Scientology working, which is just, don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. That's the nicest part about it. I talked to 5 kids that were about ready to go in and join. And by the time they were done, they were gone. They were like, wow. They couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, it's true. And Drew was there with me. He said, he's never been in, but he knows. He's talked to enough ex-Scientologists. A good show that's on the internet, I think, that's really shows what Scientology is Going Clear. It's called Going Clear, the Prison of Belief. It really is a prison. It is. So, yep, 34 years for you. Wow. I love you too. Be aware of the love bombing would be my advice. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to say. I have to pop off now. It's always great to see you face and hear your voice, Tori. Oh, thank you so much, Dave. I feel the same about you. I'm always so happy when you come. It's like, Dave here. Because I've known him for a long time. As long, I think I met you soon after I got out. My daughter will be a fiance in Morocco tomorrow. I can't wait for her phone call. Wow. She'll be with her fiance or she'll become a fiance. Going Clear's recommended viewing. Thank you, Dave. And say hi to your wife. Give her a hug from me. Let her know I'm still alive and well. Yeah, I think the love bombing is one of the biggest things for cults because they just make you feel so special. And people go, oh, I would never fall for that. It's like, come on, you know, give us some credit. You know what I mean? You, again, thank you. Her boyfriend will propose. Ooh, I'm in on the secret. Ooh, how fun, Katie Light. That is wonderful. Wow, that's really beautiful. Congratulations. Well, I'll say it tomorrow, but next time I talk to you, but let me know. That's great. Thanks for chiming in tonight, Dave Gibbons. Yeah, absolutely. He's always, always, always welcome. And he always brings good stuff. He's a good dude. And he and I both, he's OT8, I'm OT7. So both of us were in for a long time and did, a lot of stuff. So there you go. All right, you rascals. Well, anyway, I'm going to keep this kind of short because I've got to get up early tomorrow morning. Do you have any questions or anything else before I end off? And for anyone that pokes in later, thank you for coming by. I appreciate all of you very much. And I'm sorry that I didn't do anything Wednesday, but I was in the middle of something I couldn't get out of. So that's just the way it was. Ooh, wait. For new people, I would say don't judge anyone and treat everyone like you would like to be treated. And that's a tricky one, Katie, because that's a beautiful way of living for real people. But when you're in a cult, they'll just feed right into that. That's the way I feel. It's like don't judge anyone. You've got to be very, they're very, very judgmental. So that's another thing you have to know. You don't know it, but they are. And they're some of the most judgmental people I've ever met in my entire life. And they don't treat you the way you'd like to be treated. So my thing is, if you're going to go in, just go in and get one thing and get out. Don't stay, because that's where you get into the trap. I would say don't let anyone redefine words away from the common language. That's hard too, because that is part of a cult. So it's sort of like if you want to talk to them at all, you kind of have to learn their language. But you're right. That's a number one thing, because if you just say, well, I'm not going to use that word, that's the thing you could do is say, could you say this in English? How do you say that in just English versus whatever they're saying? Good night, Alice. Thank you for coming by. Always good to see you. Same for you, Sieglin. Thank you for coming by, and good job on only doing the pure. I love that. Kate, awesome. Katie Light, yeah, you were in. Okay, good. How long were you in, Katie Light? Hopefully not too long. User name unknown. All right. I'm always happy to watch your advices on parenting. I want a live about it. Okay. All right. I'll do one on parenting. But you have to understand, my advice on parenting is not Scientology parenting for sure. It's just what I was raised with and some things that I've learned along the way. But I'll do it. I'd be happy to do it. But it won't be about Scientology, because I don't use any Scientology in that. Good night, Sophie, and everyone else. Okay, good. All right, I'll do one. I'd be happy to do one. All right, love to you all. And to anyone who comes after this, please leave a comment. And to all of you, please make sure you press the like button. All right. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. All right, there you go. Peace out. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be on Sunday night. Okay, there you go. You take care.